here. All right, so it's stuck here on the screen for some reason. But we're back for future money. I was out last week. I was in Puerto Rico, got a little tan, but we are back, and hopefully you guys had a great week. We got a lot we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, where it's at right now. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about Nvidia, Palantir, where the state of the economy is going in April, because there could be some big news coming up in April that could help us with XRP, Bitcoin, Nvidia, Palantir, a lot of the stocks that we love, a lot of the cryptos that we love. So we're here to let you guys catch you guys up on what's happening with the future of money. Before we start, please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I hope you guys are ready for a great episode. So first, I want to talk about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin right now is hovering around $86,000, 87, almost 88 really right now. 87 to 88,000. So Bitcoin is in recovery mode, right? Because we had we had a pretty difficult around 84, 85. Let me see, I can't get rid of this. Let me see. I just need the pointer. There we go. So we're on 85. We're about almost 88,000. We're in recovery mode with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is recovering. You know, we almost hit into the high 70s a couple of weeks ago. Now we're pushing back towards the $100,000 mark. We're in recovery mode. We've already passed some critical support, some critical resistance lines. One was at 84.85. Another one was around 86. We passed through those with almost no resistance, really. So we're now on the path to around 92,000. Once we get past that, there's a clear shot back to 100. And we can start seeing other cryptos like XRP, other cryptos like Solana and Ethereum start to do well as Bitcoin does recover. Right now, it closed last night in the strength. One of the strongest closes of Bitcoin in the last few weeks was last night, closed above 86, which is a strong signal for forward movement and forward growth. RSI on the weekly time frame for the first time this year shows a bullish divergence, and this is since September, actually. That's a rare and powerful signal for the future of Bitcoin. Now, we talk about Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the market driver, and that's what pushes all cryptos up. A rising tide raises all ships, and we have to understand that if Bitcoin's down, XRP is not going to go up. None of this stuff is in this particular environment. Now, later on down the line, XRP may have the power to do well on its own. But right now, Bitcoin is the barometer of the market. It's what investors see first, and it's what they tend to see as a barometer or indicator of what a market's moving. So we have to have Bitcoin do well in order for the entire crypto market to do well. And that's just the way it works right now. So there's a lot of analysts out there that are saying that Bitcoin is in position to break its 6-month RSI downtrend. Now, during when Trump got elected, we did see a huge upward movement in Bitcoin. But if you look at over 6 months, Bitcoin was in a downward trend. It was in a short uptrend, and it's been going back, continuing its downward trend. So the bear market, we were technically in a bear market because of that. It was a weak bear market. It was temporary, and it was likely to last about 90 days. We're about more than halfway past it. That's why we're going to see April. We're going to see some big things happen in April. Bitcoin is probably not going to fall anymore. If it does, it won't go past 68, 69,000, which was the previous high of the last cycle. We could possibly see a 20 to 40% rally after April 15th. A lot of the fears of Trump's new trade war is starting to die away. A lot of investors who were pushed out of things like Bitcoin, crypto, and some of the higher moving stocks like Nvidia are starting to come back into the market. They were scared, so people sell speculative assets when they're afraid, and then they come back once everything starts to even out. So that's what we're seeing right now. That's happening with the crypto market and also in the AI stock market. Did you not do Strategy Sunday? I did it last night at 9 o'clock. So a lot of people are asking, why is XRP suppressed? We're going to talk about that next. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and like the video. We only have 9 likes. That can't be right. 9 likes? That's right. It's almost 1,000 people in here, but we only got 9 likes. So I need you guys to please like the video, drop those super chats, If I see them, I'll try to answer the question. If you like the content, if you're making money with the content, please drop those super chats. I'd really appreciate it. Helps us keep the studio going. So helps pay these beautiful people who work here at Evotion Studios in Clearwater. So if you're in Clearwater, come check it out. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening with XRP. Actually, while we're talking, Bitcoin just passed over 88,000. So right now, XRP is trading at around 247. It's holding above that key support line of 237, even though we've been through some turbulence over the last few days. You think the likes are glitching? Maybe they are, because I don't know, we only got 9. That's crazy. 84 likes, 106 likes, that's good. So even though we've been through some turbulence with the market, XRP has pretty much held its value during all of this. Somebody asked me what's holding the price of XRP down. Well, XRP, what happened is that when Brad Garlinghouse announced that XRP and the Ripple lawsuit was that the SEC would no longer appeal, that means that the SEC is more or less conceding, but the lawsuit's not over. It should be over, but it's not, because the SEC refuses to concede that easily. So because we're in a speculative market, which is crypto, and you got XRP, which is even more full of uncertainty, hesitant investors are on the sidelines. They don't know what to think, what's going to happen. They've been hurt. If you really follow XRP, something new comes out every day. This happened, that happened. It doesn't seem to affect the price. And people hear these things and they think, well, maybe all of it's garbage. Maybe all of it doesn't make sense. Remember, cryptocurrency, even though it's 15 years old, there's a lot of people, let me see, yeah, it's like 15 years old. There's a lot of people, 16 almost. There's a lot of people out there that still either don't understand it or don't believe in it. So because there's so many people out there, that the market is still shaky and hesitant and uncertain, because it's a market which that people don't really understand or believe in. So it gives us an opportunity, because whenever that's an artificial perception of what the risk is in an asset. And I like those plays because I want everybody else afraid, like AI with Nvidia. When we first caught it at Nvidia in 2022, I think, end of 22, we started talking about it. I went heavy on it in the beginning of 23. It was at $80. People said people called me crazy. I didn't know what I was talking about. At the beginning, it was hard. I would get all these, I'm stupid, don't know how to talk. Nvidia is not the only producer of chips. AI is going to die. It's just a fad. All of these things. Then Nvidia went from $80 all the way up to $1,200. Then all of a sudden, everybody comes over and they act like it was. And then the crazy thing about it is that once these things happen, people say, well, everybody knew that was going to happen. No, everybody didn't know it was going to happen. It's easy in hindsight to look at something and say, yeah, everybody knew that. If everybody knew it, everybody would be rich, and they're not rich. Because most people are hesitant when these things start. And then once they start taking a hold, you'll see people jump on. Some people jump on earlier, some people jump on later, but you'll see in an asset, like this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen with XRP, is that you're going to see with XRP, you're going to see people hesitant at first. Like Nvidia, you may see $80, $90. You may see XRP go to $3, then $4, then $5. But as XRP starts to grow, the acceleration is going to speed up. It will accelerate as time goes on, as more people start to jump on. But that's exactly what happened to Nvidia. After Nvidia passed like $300-400, that's when you saw the crazy growth, because the growth accelerated as people started to realize what was happening right in front of them. Now, the people who make the most money are the people who got on before the masses realized the potential. If you got Nvidia at $100, under $200, or maybe even under $100, that's when you made the most money. That's life-changing money. Now, the people who jumped on at $700-800, like a lot of your favorite influencers, which which really confuses me, because a lot of people don't understand the difference, and that's scary too. There's a huge difference on getting on something like XRP, like Nvidia or any other stock or crypto, before the masses, as opposed to getting onto it after the masses have already jumped on. It's an easy call to pick out Nvidia today. It's still going to do well, still going to make 10 times your money in the next 10 years, but we did the same growth in less than a year and a half, 2 years, because you were able to see the potential early on. Same thing with XRP. The people who got an XRP under $1 will see the biggest growth. The people who get on today are going to see some of the second biggest growth. Now, the people who jump on once it's $10, $12, $13, $14, they don't see as much growth. But when you're in something early, it is scary. You do question yourself. You say, maybe I'm wrong. People will come around and call you crazy, call you stupid. Say there's other opportunities out there. It's difficult for a person to get on something early. And the reason is because so many people are going to come at you and say you're wrong. People love that. They love being what do you call them? Like the armchair quarterbacks. It's easy to come up with a situation when you're not involved in it, right? You're sitting back and just judging people. People do that all the time. There's people online that go around talking about stocks and crypto, how this person's wrong, that person's wrong. And I've seen them before because they'll come on my page talking about I'm wrong. Now go around and look at them, and they're doing this to everybody. And that person probably likely doesn't own any stocks or crypto at all. They're just negative type people who love to talk about things because they don't have any stake in what they're talking about. And that's what happens when you get into things very, very early, is that people will come at you like that because they actually feel good that they're able to point out some stuff or maybe even scare you off for your path because they're afraid to go down the same path. So we got 1,000 people in there, but why we only show 9 likes? That's crazy. There must be something wrong with the like system. I don't know. Let's see. No, we got 347 likes, I guess. All right, that's good. So drop those super chats. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And I'd appreciate it if you would like the video. So, like I said, XRP, the key resistance points, the 2 next key resistance points for XRP is 259 mark and 271. If we're able to get through those, $3 is a clear shot. So hopefully we can get through those 2 points. XRP is uniquely positioned, and we've talked about this constantly. It's uniquely positioned to settle real-time payments in a global finance. And it has a very, very high chance to replace some of these legacy systems like Swift, right? And the thing about XRP is that if you look at Bitcoin, and like I said, I love Bitcoin. I own a large amount of Bitcoin. That was the first experience with cryptocurrency. That's and like I said, Bitcoin has a place in this world. So don't somebody come along and say XRP or Bitcoin. No, it's going to be both. But XRP is the only crypto that has a clear use case. Bitcoin has no clear use case. Even the Bitcoin maxis can't decide what it is. Some of them say it's a store of value. Some of them say it's going to end up being a world currency. Some people say it's digital gold. Some people say it's going to be used for collateral for loans. They don't even have a clear idea of what it's going to be. Now, just because you don't know what something's going to be doesn't mean it's not going to be great. There's a lot of technologies out there that we use every day that was created for a completely different reason that now we use it for something else. That's a common path that a lot of technology goes down. Starts off as something else and it ends up being something completely different because people find another use for it. And that's a common. Twitter, people don't realize this, but Twitter, which is now X.com, was created to be a group text messaging system. Back then, there was no such thing as group text. And so if you wanted to send a message to your whole church, you would need some type of group system. And that's what Twitter was. Now it's evolved way past that. And a lot of technologies follow that similar path where it started out as something, ended up being something different. But the key is that the technology is great enough to do several things. And of course, it's going to end up being something. That's what Bitcoin is. It will eventually be something. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be something. But XRP already has a use case. It already has a utility that's clear and defined. And it has always had this utility. That's why I think that XRP has so much potential. If XRP captures just 5 to 10% of Swift Network's $5 trillion daily volume, projections will place the price targets between $50 and $150 per XRP. Now, let me say it again. If XRP captures just 5 to 10% of Swift's $5 trillion daily volume, the projections will place the price targets, let's just say around $100. Now, that's not accounting for hype or demand, which could possibly push it to $200-300 if it all happens rapidly. So that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a potential to take something that's $2 going to 100, and that's probably the last great chance with cryptocurrency, right? Is that we got a lot of meme coins out there that could make you 100, 200 times your money. But the problem with those meme coins, they carry a ridiculous amount of risk. And XRP does not carry that same amount of risk. You have to balance risk versus reward. You can't always go for risk. And I know people that have done that and lost everything. You continue to roll the dice, one day you'll come up snake eyes. That's why you have to constantly manage risk. There's projects out there. One of the projects out there is called Project Ion. They're already building infrastructure to place XRP. I need you guys to research that too. I'm going to talk about it next week. Project Ion, ION. They're building infrastructure right now that XRP could be plugged right into to have the highest efficiency, highest execution. Now, the Ripple versus SEC case is basically over. So after the SEC comes out and gives what they think and how they end the case, and they officially end it, we're going to see major institutions come into this. So Neil says, quick price analysis for Oklo stock. We'll talk about that later. Remind me. So there's 7, just so we know that institutional investors are getting involved, is that there's 19 XRP ETFs right now that are filed. Now, if these get approved, which they will quickly, I believe, after the lawsuit's over, because I think the government is going to do a 180 on XRP. I think Brad Garlinghouse is quickly in with the government, in with the Trump administration. So I think if these get approved, and they will rapidly, it's going to flood the market with XRP. It's going to flood XRP with institutional liquidity. Now, a lot of analysts are saying that these ETF approvals, if they happen rapidly before the end of the year, could push XRP to $20 to $30, even without the SWIFT network being involved. So we can get to 20 to 30 without even major integration in the SWIFT network or replacement. So if there's a stable coin crisis, which a lot of people say there could be a stable coin crisis out there, because a lot of people say Tether does not have the money that they say they have. Now, if we get to a point where there is a stable coin crisis, and you know that in the European Union, they actually outlawed in a way some stable coins that didn't follow certain regulations. I think Tether was caught up in that, or one of the stable coins. So there's a lot of people already speculating that stable coins are mostly fraudulent now. I'm not saying that they are, but there are people that are saying that they could be. Now, XRP is the least likely to be XRP stablecoin. Is the Ripple stablecoin, I'm sorry, Ripple or RLUSD is the least likely to be manipulated or fraudulent because of the way it works. And XRP is the fuel that sends those stablecoins around the world. So if we get into a crisis where the stable coins are a lot fraudulent, or they fail, or the liquidity starts to freeze, this can drive Bitcoin XRP to 4 digits maybe in the long term. If all the stable coins have issues and RLUSD is the only one left, yeah, we could see $10,000 easily. But it would take time. It's not going to be overnight. Things don't happen overnight. And that's what you got to realize, is that XRP and all these other cryptos, and even some of the stocks, they're not meme coins. Things don't happen overnight. This is not GameStop, where you're going to see, you have to understand, GameStop went up a lot, but it also went down a lot. And a lot of people lost money. You don't want that type of volatility in your life. I'm telling you, it's harder to manage than you think. That's why real investors run from volatility. Because it seems like, well, I could have got GameStop at 6, rolled up to 500 and sold, but in real time, it's very difficult in a short period of time to realize what's happening. And it sounds easy on paper than it is, because when you're in there, you buy it at 6, goes up to 500. Remember, the hype is the highest at 500. The euphoria is the highest. Everybody around you is telling you. I remember people saying that GameStop was going to 10,000. So if you're caught up in that hype, what you tend to do is you start to get caught up in that emotion as well, and you end up holding some. Now it drops to 300. Well, this happens sometime. It'll come back. Drops to 100, drops to 50, you end up selling, but you make some money, but you lose a lot of potential, because the emotions a lot of times will cause you to make bad decisions on something that's that volatile. So you have to be careful with volatility. Institutions run from volatility because they understand that it's very difficult to predict, and it's very difficult to time the ins and outs of a volatile stock or crypto. So I need you guys to subscribe to the channel. Please like the video if you haven't done so. We talk on this channel future money. We talk about the future of money, cryptocurrency, stocks, AI stocks, tech stocks. We don't talk about anything like Coca-Cola and all that stuff. We only stick to tech stocks and crypto on this channel. Drop a super chat if you haven't done so. I'd really appreciate it. I'll try to, if I see the question, I'll answer it as well. If you're making money, you enjoy the channel, I would appreciate the super chats. Now, the key here is that once this lawsuit is over, Ripple, it's a high chance, I believe, that Ripple will start to work with lawmakers. They'll start to create sandbox programs, safe harbor rules with the SEC. Now, a friendlier SEC with this lawsuit being over and some pro-crypto bills and laws could make 2025 that breakout year for XRP. And that's what I think this is the breakout year for XRP. So now I want to talk about AI stocks, Palantir versus Nvidia. Which one should you buy? We'll touch on Oklo as well. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't done so. Drop those super chats. But we'll talk about Oklo in a second, Neil. After we talk about Palantir and Nvidia. I think Oklo has earnings either today or tomorrow. You're the truth. I appreciate you, Gianni. Thank you. So Jalixa Ortiz, Yalixa, it's Yalixa, I think. I appreciate you, Yalixa. Roger Alexander, I appreciate you, Roger. Thank you so much. XRP is 10,000. I have 550 million. Yeah, maybe. Hope so. Hope you get it, man. So let's talk a little bit about Palantir versus Nvidia. Which one is the best play going forward? Now, a lot of people are starting to believe that that AI could be over. Now, we're only in the middle of AI. AI is getting to the third phase, which is the build-out phase, which that's what we're going to see development, data centers start to be built. That's what we're going to see centralization of AI services, because right now, for the last 3 or 4 years, everybody built their own AI services independently, trying to catch up. That's what we see a lot with technology. Then we'll start to see over time. If you remember back in, if anybody's in IT, you'll remember 10, 15 years ago, everybody had their own servers. Everybody had a network engineer. Everybody had a server farm in their own office. Now, most companies, smart companies, either use Microsoft Azure or they use AWS. That's an example of centralization of services, and we see that a lot with we see that a lot with tech in the last 30 years. We've seen that with tech is that everybody is forced to create their own things because there is no centralization. But as time goes on, specialized services and platforms start to get created, and then everything starts to become centralized. And that's sort of the build-out phase. And that's what we're going into with AI right now is that there's going to be companies, AWS already does it, Azure does some of it, where people can hire basically places to do all the processing for them. We're starting to see that right now. And that's what's going to happen in the third phase of AI, which we're going into sometime this year. Now, in the third phase, companies like Nvidia are going to do a lot better than, let's say, Palantir. Palantir has some downsides, right, as of today, and we're going to discuss those downsides. AMD is right at the time for it to start being successful. It was held down for the last 2 years. Nvidia got all the spotlight, but now AMD, I believe, it's AMD's time to shine for the next year from today. Rest of this year and probably half of next year. AMD is finally AMD's time to shine. So, and the reason why is because it is build out, because now companies are, the companies that are getting into providing AI services need a ridiculously amount of chips. And I think Tesla is even going to start. Tesla is doing that on their own, but they need a lot of chips. These companies are going to start, and then once we run on Nvidia chips, AMD is starting to get better. AMD is the only other company on earth that can match, and Intel can match what Nvidia is doing. AMD is a closer match than Intel because AMD has made graphic processors for years. Intel, not so much. They've been more about just regular CPUs, just the regular processors. So right now, because Nvidia has been depressed slightly for the last couple of months, maybe beginning of this year, There's a 50% upside right now for Nvidia from this point on for the next 6 months. Right now, Nvidia is trading at where's Nvidia at? I can't type anything. You type Nvidia on there. Here we go. Stock. Look up Nvidia stock. There it is. I got it. Yeah, it's at 121. It's actually doing good today. It's up 3.5%. But there's a chance that there's a good chance that Nvidia's heading right back to 170. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. There's a good chance that Nvidia's heading right back to 175 in the next 3 or 4 months. So it's a great play for a lot of people who may have pulled out because it was going down. I would double down on Nvidia right now because it's at 121. It's probably going to 175 over the next, probably by the end of the summer, early fall. I could clearly see it getting to 175. There's a lot of analysts that say that. Now, Palantir, on the other hand, it has a lot of issues right now. Palantir was a great play a year and a half ago, but right now, from where it's at today, you got two choices. You can hold for the long term. You're probably not going to see as much gains as you would Nvidia, but it's still a good play just because you don't always have to get the most possible money out of each play. You can have different plays in Nvidia. They don't have to all be killers, right? As long as they do better than inflation and you make money, you're okay. You can hold Palantir. You can choose to move Palantir profits into Nvidia, which is a smart idea, but there's still risk in that too. But I think that's a smart idea because, it's up to you. I'm not giving you financial advice. It's up to you. Because Nvidia does have a higher upside. AMD has a higher upside from today because of what we talked about with the infrastructure build out. Palantir, somebody put Palantir continues to sign contracts, though. Yeah, you're right about that. And I'm going to talk to you why that's not necessarily a good thing. So a lot of analysts are right now changing it to a hold. I believe it's still a hold. It's still a strong hold. I don't think you should. I wouldn't be buying Palantir right now. Palantir does have a strong tech. Remember, I'm not saying that Palantir is bad. It's probably going to go up. But it's not going to go up as much as Nvidia or AMD from this point on. They have strong revenue growth. It's a leader in decision intelligence, ranked top tier by a lot of rating agencies. But the problem is that the valuation of Palantir is very, very high. 220 times earnings, P&E, it's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous. And that people are going to start to look at it as overvalued if they haven't already done so much. So somebody says, I'm dollar cost averaging on quantum stocks. Appreciate the super chat, Michael. I'm dollar cost averaging on quantum stocks since they are so cheap. Do you think quantum will be a big play in the coming years? Now, before earlier, was it last year or earlier this year, there was a lot of advancements in quantum computing with the Google Willow chip, and it was a few others. I didn't think we would see any real movement in quantum computers to 2026. And that kind of shocked me that they finished it a little earlier, but it may have been a preemptive announcement just to get their names out there in the world of quantum computing. I don't think those chips are anywhere near where they need to be commercially viable. I think we still got another year and a half on that. So acquiring and dollar cost averaging quantum computing stocks is a good idea leading up to that. Now, quantum computing is not over. I believe that those announcements were early. And I said it, if you follow me, I said I didn't think we'd see any real movement to 26, maybe even 27 on quantum computers. And I was shocked that it happened so early. But as I dug deeper into these things, they're not commercially viable, what I mean by that is that people can't use them really in any type of systems. With AI has been around since 1956. It was a big movement in AI in 1980. There was another big one in the early 2010s, and we finally where we are today. Now, the biggest thing that happened in AI was with ChatGPT. It made it usable to the average person, and that's when we saw the explosion of AI. Now, before that, we didn't see the big explosions like we have seen in the last few years, and that's the same thing with quantum computers. Now, we can see advancements. But until we have a killer app like ChatGPT was, an app, what we call a killer app in tech is an app that makes everybody able to see the clear use case of this technology. Until we have some type of killer app, quantum computer will be stagnant or it will be slight growth. There won't be the major hype that came into AI over the last 3 years. Quantum computers need a killer app. They need something that the average walking around person can look at that and say, that's what quantum computer is. The average person on the street will tell you, they will say, what is AI? ChatGPT. They can say it. Until we have something like that for quantum computers will be stagnant. Even though the technology is amazing, there has to be something that the average man can say what it is. The average man can't say it now. They don't know. They don't know. That means that there is no killer app for quantum computers yet. And until there is, there won't be any growth, major growth in the stocks or the assets or whatever. But over time, you're making a good choice. Keep dollar cost averaging in, not financial advice. And eventually, yeah, you'll have a huge payoff. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. Don't know exactly. But one day you'll have a major payoff. Any more super chats, I'll answer them. So back to Palantir. Palantir is already overvalued based on earnings. Nvidia still dominates the data center GPUs, which is Palantir is not involved in that. So Palantir is solid, but it's overvalued. Nvidia is dominant. Nvidia is cheaper based on earnings, and it's likely to be the first mover in this next AI wave that's coming. Another problem with Palantir also is that somebody talked about the contracts. Now, Palantir has a lot of contracts with the U.S. government, and that's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing short term. Long term, what those contracts do, you got to remember when you work for the U.S. government, and I'm making missiles, I'm making smart missiles, I'm making smart software to run tanks, I'm making smart software to run jets. Now, the U.S. government can't have you running around doing the same thing for China. They can't have you running around doing the same thing for Russia because those are their competitors. So when you sign these agreements, you're limited to the United States. So now you can't grow. You can short term, yeah, it looks great. Long term, you're going to miss that growth. Nvidia can sell whoever they want to except China, but they can sell to anybody else. Palantir had an epic run. Somebody just said that. Massive gains. Short amount of time. It's still going to it's never going to go down to the $6 where most people bought it at. You still made a ridiculous amount of money. You still will probably continue to make money with Palantir. But as a AI play going forward, Palantir is going to stall short term compared to other AI stocks. Long term, Palantir will still make you a lot of money. But it's just don't expect the type of gains that you've had in Palantir from $6 to now to continue on into the future because it's highly unlikely from this point on. So let's talk about U.S. markets, macro outlooks. Before we do that, please subscribe to the channel. Please drop those super chats. And if you haven't done so, please like the video. I'd really like it. We got 500 likes, but we've had 2,000 people coming to this chat or this live so far. So I need you guys to please subscribe to the channel. Oh, and like the video. Got 555 likes. So I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. market, what's going to come over the next 6 months, 7 months, maybe even a year. The U.S. is experiencing a weaker dollar right now when compared to other dollars, like, for example, the euro. That means that what's going to happen with U.S. stocks is that traditionally or historically what we've seen is that whenever the U.S. dollar becomes weak against the euro, it normally causes a cash inflow from European Union or Europe in general. We did see a lot of money leave the United States over the past, let's say, 8 or 9 months and go into the European market because it was reversed. The dollar was strengthening against the euro. But now that's starting to reverse. So it's highly likely we're going to see a lot of money flow back into U.S. stocks And that will also help Nvidia, AMD, SoundHound, those stocks we've been talking about. When the US dollar weakens, it makes US assets cheaper for foreign investments and foreign investors. Stocks, real estate, and even bonds start to look cheaper when compared to their own market because our dollar is getting weaker. So think about it like this. If you're a European investor, right, and you see the dollar start to drop, now you can all of a sudden buy more US assets, buy US businesses, buy US stocks, buy US bonds, buy US based commodities. You can buy them a lot cheaper than with your own euros, right? Because to you, the prices are going down. Even though the companies could be, like, let's say, for example, the companies could still be strong, but because you can now spend less euros to buy it, you can buy these companies a lot cheaper than you could have before. And then once it reverses back, you not only make money on the way up, like with Nvidia, for example. Let's say Nvidia is going up and I'm a European investor. I can look at that situation and say, I think Nvidia is going to go up. But I can compound those gains because I'm buying Nvidia for less euros in the first place, because right now we're going through a weaker dollar, which may only be temporary, because the Trump administration will probably make the dollar stronger over the next few years. So you can buy Nvidia right now for less money. Then when the price goes up and the euro start to strengthen, you've doubled your potential earnings. Not doubled, but you've exaggerated your potential earnings, because you took advantage of both things that were happening. So a lot of European investors now see the US stock market as on sale. Now, when we look at the stock market, we say it's on sale because there's a crash. But they look at it as no crash. It's just that the euros are getting stronger against the dollar. So they can now buy more US assets for a lot cheaper. And that normally causes something to happen where a lot of European money starts to come into the market, a massive rotation of money starts to rotate from the European equities market back into the US market. Now, like I said, quarter four, quarter one of this year, the quarter four of last year, we saw the reverse happen. A lot of money left the US into European equities. But if the US tech starts to regain leadership with Nvidia, AI, under the Trump administration, we're going to start to see that reverse. So Hahala Gaming says, how do you see XLM as a sister or alternative payment to XRP? And where do you see it by 2026? I don't think XLM has the potential that XRP has, but I still think it's a good play. And I'm going to tell you why. Is because XLM and XRP started off with the same code base that people say. Nobody's sure when people say that, but they diverged, and one of the founders of XRP created XLM. And XRP wants to target banks, organizations, moving huge amounts of money around the world. XLM wants to target third world countries, emerging economies that send small amounts of money everywhere. Now, because the two addressable markets are different, XLM does not have a big, banks and institutions have way more money than even the smaller people all over the world collective. So XLM has a lower dollar amount of the addressable market than XRP has. But because of that, XRP has more potential. But that doesn't say XLM has potential as well. It's just not like XRP's. But they're both going to go up once this rally starts to take place. Now, the Magnificent Seven stocks are trading near their cheapest levels in 2 years relative to the broader market, down 14% this year. So it's going to be a no-brainer for European investors to start to see our stock market as a great opportunity, as a depressed opportunity, as an opportunity where they can make a lot more money as the European dollar gets stronger against the U.S. dollar. Now, I think there's going to be a rally here in the S&P 500. Bank of America is reporting to its high net worth investors all of this information that they're starting to see these things start to happen. The 10-year Treasury bonds are rising. So bond traders, right now it's 4.29. Bond traders expect growth to hold up as inflation starts to cool. Now, people say, what does bond prices have to do with the economy? Well, bond prices and yields move opposite. When investors sell bonds, prices fall and yields go up, right? So when a 10-year yield rises, it means that investors are selling their Treasury bonds. That means that they're selling their Treasury bonds and they're rotating into stocks and even crypto. Now, what does this mean? Now, the U.S. bond is the most secure investment on earth right now. The only way the bond won't pay out is if the U.S. fails. And the U.S. has never missed a bond payment in its entire history. Some countries has, because sometimes people will tell me all the time, they'll say, oh man, I'm gonna start investing in municipal bonds and government bonds all over the world. This country over here pays, you can find bonds that pay 20, 30% sometimes. Puerto Rico is paying 14% at one time. And it seems like a good idea, but countries like Puerto Rico have failed their bond payments twice. So when they don't have the bonds, they just look at you and say, oh, I guess we don't have it. And you can't do nothing. You invest in a municipality or government or a country, they give you bonds. If they can't pay it, they just say, sorry, can't pay it. Felix Trinidad, which was a famous boxer years ago, lost all his money like that. He thought he was doing a safe thing, investing in Puerto Rican bonds, lost everything, $30 million. But the yields are high because the risk is higher. So that's the reason why. But the U.S. bonds are seen as the most secure investment on earth because the U.S. has never missed its bond payments. Your credit rating goes down, you got to pay out a higher yield to attract new investors. So it's a spiral which causes your country to go down. So because if you see investors selling, the most secure investment on earth to get into bonds, stocks, crypto, and other investments, it shows investor confidence. It shows confidence in the economy that's coming. It shows they believe that there's greater opportunities worth taking the risk. So when we see the bond yields go up because people are selling, it's a sign that the economy is getting stronger. The bond yields drop when there's demand. The demand goes higher. The government doesn't have to give out as much money to get you to buy the bonds. So as the bonds when the demand for bonds goes up, the yields come down because the government again does not have to pay you a high yield for you to buy them, because there's so much demand. Once the demand drops, they got to raise the yields in order to get more people interested in buying the bonds. So the bond yield tells us where the economy's at. When it's high, the economy's good. When it's low, the economy is bad. And we're starting to see the bond yields go up. The economy is stronger than expected, so that's another reason why the Fed may hold rates higher for longer, but they may not cut them aggressively. A rising yield tells you investors are not scared right now. They're expecting steady growth, and they're hunting for higher returns elsewhere. And so, with that being said, I give you guys, drop those super chats. I'll answer those questions. If you like the video, if you've learned something, drop a super chat. I'd really appreciate it. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. But I'll give you guys 5 minutes to ask any questions. Does it sound good? This is a new mic. Pantoja, thanks for all you do. I appreciate it, Micah. That was you, right? Yeah, Oklo. Yeah, I'll talk about Oklo. Sorry. Oklo has earnings. Let me see. I think it's, give me a second. I think it's today or tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. I've been out of the country. I've been looking at the earnings up 13%. Earnings, dang. Yes, after the market close. So earnings is today after market close. So the earnings are probably going to be positive. We're seeing a 13% rise in Oklo right now. So that shows us that the insiders already know what's going to happen. Oklo is a smaller stock compared to overall market. So yeah, we're probably going to see positive earnings. But the thing about Oklo is that when do we call it Oklo? $6, $5? What can you guys that bought Oklo please drop it in the chat? I think we got Oklo at like $6. So right now it's 30. Oklo is probably going to go over 100 the next year and a half. But that's what Oklo is positioned also extraordinarily well, almost like Nvidia was. It's the only company that people know about that's doing what it's doing. And that's the only way we can go forward with AI and all these other things that we're doing, is that with nuclear power. Nuclear power is the next wave. And Oklo is the only company almost similar to Nvidia that's doing it on a small scale, highly efficient, that has the right people behind them, that has one of the only companies that have the potential to do great things in this. It's tomorrow after hours? No, it's today after hours, right? Yeah, it's today. I think it's today, Pat. Yeah, it's today. It's the 24th. I just looked it up. But Oklo is probably going to have positive earnings. And the thing about Oklo is that the major things that Oklo is doing is not even going to come to next year. Somebody says, why did Teller move to El Salvador? I don't know. Probably because they're doing something dirty. Probably. I don't know. That's weird. I didn't even. That's crazy. I didn't even know they moved to El Salvador. I don't follow Tether like that. I don't really think. I think Tether is probably doesn't. I don't believe that Tether has all of the money that they claim they do. And I'm gonna tell you why. Is because every single cycle, people always challenge them about that. They've never actually proven that they do. Which that's the reason why I don't trust Tether. I never have. But yeah, so Oklo probably continue to do great things. It's probably going to 100 over the next year and a half. I think the earnings call tonight is going to blow it up. We'll probably see $35, $40 by tomorrow close of business. I think that there's going to be good earnings for Oklo. Can't join CNC because it rejects my card from Nigeria. So yeah, join the CNC. The CNC is live. We got an app dropping in a week or two. Jointhecnc.com is the website. I'll put it here in the chat. So make sure you click it, take a look, and join us. We do a lot of great things. A lot of people have made life-changing money in the CNC. So make sure you join. Can't join CNC because it rejected my card from Nigeria. You can pay with crypto. But if you have crypto, Jesse, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. DM me on Instagram and I'll send you a link to get in. We'll create one for you. Tether will burst into flames and RLUSD will take over. Yeah, there's a good chance. I don't think Tether has the money. I just don't think they do. Hey, I'm in the CNC. A question, how does it work when you move your assets to a ledger back to the platform to take gains? Does the platform know which price the coin is at? Yeah, I mean, the platform knows what's it depends. Like if you transfer to Coinbase, yeah, they know what it's worth. They track the price. Yeah, property's actually doing good. It's at 74 cents. When did we call it out? Last week? What was last Sunday? It was the Sunday before last, right? What was the Sunday before last? It was the 9th. It was 3.9. Yeah, that's still not okay. Yeah, property is. I believe in property, and I think it's going to start to do well here from this point on. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure you drop those super chats. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. I appreciate you. What was the name of the stock you mentioned a few minutes ago? Oklo. That's OKLO. I hope you guys have a great night. I appreciate you. Great day, and I appreciate you.